In case you missed it, it's October. Yeah, it's finally fall outside. But what October means is that open enrollment is just around the corner. So I brought in today my favorite insurance professional. I call him my insurance guy. This is Justin Kessel with the Kessel Group. Just knows all the things insurance. So we brought him here today so that he can give us a little bit of info. So Justin, why don't you tell us about you and your business first?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, my company is called Kessel Group Insurance Solutions, and we mainly focus on the individuals and their families. That's really a market that isn't real well taken care of by a lot of insurance companies. Most people try and focus on the group side, so I try and cater to the needs of those who are really in the need of a qualified insurance agent who can help out with that small business owner, couple employees, that sort of thing.
Perfect. So if any of you have ever seen me and been like, Monica, what do I do about insurance? I say, hey, I know this guy named Justin. Here you go. This is what he does. So Justin, tell me a little bit about where should people start if they're coming to open enrollment and they're like, is this the best plan for me? What should they do first?
So the first piece of advice that I would give is always find a broker. Brokers work with multiple different companies so that they can give you a wide range of options. If it's a captive agent, that means they're working for a specific company, and that may not be the right plan for what your needs are. So with a broker, you have a lot more leverage in finding just a more idealized plan for what your situation is, because every age group, every family situation, every pre-existing condition situation, they're all different from each other. Right. So you need to be able to pivot from one company to the next.
Absolutely, and that's a big reason why I don't have all the answers for my patients, is because it can vary based off of the medication that you're on, if it's super expensive, or if you need to see a specialist every 6 days, or, I hope not every 6 days, but, and that can vary a lot, and that's where that brokerage comes into play. And so my understanding is brokers aren't paid by the consumer, correct? So
Correct.
If I talk to you, I don't pay you directly.
Correct, yeah. I'm paid directly from whatever insurance company you sign up with. So my services are completely free, same with every broker. There's no service charges or anything like that, and having the conversation will never cost you anything. If they do charge you something, you need to find someone else.
So this seems like kind of a no-brainer that even if you're set in your insurance and you think it's a great option, even having a 15-minute phone call with you doesn't cost them anything and might save them money.
Oh, absolutely. And the funny part is, a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go with the marketplace. But even the companies that are on the marketplace have plans that are not on the marketplace. So for instance, Blue Cross Blue Shield has a basically platinum version. It's still a gold plan, but it's better than the best plan on there. You just don't have access to unless you go through a broker.
I see. All right, so speaking of Blue Cross Blue Shield, that's a very common insurance here in Texas. What kind of options do you have?
So when it comes to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they are only in the group area or the Obamacare area. So these are all HMO plans. They are going to be the most expensive out there, but they're also going to be the best doctor network that you're going to find on Obamacare. So it's definitely a great company to work with. I mean, it's Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's them and United Healthcare are the big two. And the doctor network that they have, even with the HMO, is kind of incredible. So I can always recommend that for someone who has those major pre-existing condition needs, that really needs a wider selection of doctors.
All right. Well, what about the healthy family that doesn't necessarily go to the doctor all the time and may not need that gigantic $50,000 doctor option?
So when it comes to those ones, those are the ones that I will generally recommend to someone like yourself, where if you use a direct primary care doctor, you're going to save a lot of money. Just as a loose example, getting the privilege of having co-pays costs about an extra $150 a month for me to put that onto a insurance plan, versus if you go through a direct primary care doctor, it's about half that cost, and it's a $0 copay instead of $50 or $75 or what have you. So for me to be able to leverage that, I can actually give you a higher quality plan on the deductible side, and the max out of pocket and things like that. You get a much better plan for the same price that you would if you had those copays built into the plan itself.
Perfect. And for all of you out there that are like, deductible, copay, I don't know what that means, you're not alone. And that's where Justin comes into play, is he can see what your typical use is and figure out the best plan for you. So Justin, I know there was at one time was an insurance requirement that if you didn't have insurance, you would be tax penalized. Is that correct?
Correct.
Could you speak to that?
Yeah, so that got taken away about 2 years ago now, and they're still fighting in the courts saying that Obamacare is completely illegal, but I'm not going to get into that whole conversation. But that penalty is not in place anymore. Regardless, though, you still do need insurance. Because if something does happen, I mean, a car wreck can cost you 60 grand. It's a very easy thing to happen out of nowhere. I mean, just as a personal example, I was 23 years old, thought that I was basically immortal. I didn't have insurance and I got a kidney stone. That was an $18,000 bill that I had for the better part of a decade just because I was young and dumb.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. And even though we don't take insurance, we're not an insurance dependent practice, we definitely want our patients to have insurance for those things like kidney stones. I'm here to help, but I can only do so much. Likewise, if you get cancer or fall off the roof or something terrible happens, that's where our services are, we don't do that. And so that's why we send people to Justin. So a lot of people get insurance offered by their employer. Is that typically their best option, or
probably about 80% of the time it is. It depends on how big the company is and how much utilization they have. So if they have a bunch of sick people, their rates are going to be through the roof. One of the things that I have really kind of catered my business to is the people who say, my insurance is great for just me, but if I add on my single child, it's an extra $700 a month. Those types of plans I can help with. I can carve out specific people to help them on the individual basis. But when we're talking about a group insurance versus individual insurance, generally the number of employees is right around a dozen, where it makes more sense to go with a group insurance rather than an individual insurance. But it does vary just kind of depending on what type of business it is. For instance, a HVAC company that's all young males, that's going to be a lot cheaper than something where it's, say, a daycare center, where it's a bunch of young females who are in the
childbearing age.
Exactly. So it's going to be a lot different, and you always have to look at the situation.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, my husband works for a corporation that has 75,000 employees, so I'm sure they get a much better rate for their insurance than the HVAC with 5 employees. So once again, though, that's a great conversation to have with Justin is, hey, I'm a teacher and this is what I'm offered. I happen to know Leander ISD teachers. If it's just you being insured, great plan. But if you want to add your family or your spouse, good luck. Your paycheck just went out the window. So those are great situations where just having that conversation with Justin could be very helpful. So, all right, awesome. So what's the process of working with you? Like, how does that work?
So when it comes to working with me, it's all about just setting up an appointment to have a 15-minute conversation. If it's something you want to decide to move forward with, it takes about another 15 minutes. So the whole process can take about 30 minutes to get everything done. When you're talking about your different options, like a broker like myself can always email you over each of the different options from each of the different companies. I mean, there's plenty of different styles of plans, from Obamacare to short-term to health shares and indemnity plans, everything in between. So there's a lot of different options available for people, and we just kind of need to go over the best ones that fit your needs, and I'll email those over. You can take a look at them in between our appointments and just set up another one, and we can finalize everything. It takes not very much time at all, and it's all done over the phone.
Perfect. Awesome. And Justin does have a super easy to access calendar link. And we'll add that calendar link in the comments of this video. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to him. We'll also put his email address in there. All right. Anything else you can think that people might want to know about open enrollment? Like, oh wait, when does it start? When is open enrollment?
Open enrollment is November 1st through December 15th. But just realize that's only